In the planetary friendships, you have these great friendships. Great friendships are where they are good for each other. So, anytime Sun and Mars are together in a chart, that is a good place, generally speaking. Generally speaking, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and Venus, Saturn. And they are the great friendships amongst the planets. And how are they great friendships? Some of them are more equal than others. Sun gets exalted in the sign of Mars. That's a good friendship. That's like your friend who comes to your house party, and he's like in his best element. He's introverted otherwise, but then when he comes to your house, he's great. So this is a good friendship. But Mars in Leo is happy, but it's not exalted, but it's still happy. So it's a good friendship. Sun gets exalted in the house of Mars. Jupiter and Mars. This is the ideal Jai Viru kind of friendship, because Jupiter and Mars, when they are together, that's a great combo. And also when they are in each other's signs, they are very happy. Like Jupiter when it is placed in Aries or Scorpio, or when Mars when it is placed in Sagittarius or Pisces, pretty happy. And the best part about their friendship is that they complement each other. Where Jupiter gets exalted, Mars is debilitated. So you might think, hey, how come that is? It's like these two friends go to some place, some party or some library or some university, and one is doing very well, the other is like complete failure. But then if they are together, then it causes a cancellation of debilitation, what is called Neecha Bhanga. But same with where Mars gets exalted, which is in Capricorn, Jupiter gets debilitated. Same thing. So if they are together, they are the best couple because they compensate for each other's weaknesses. They are good in each other's houses. Just the best friendship, the best. Venus and Mercury. Now this is a complicated thing because Venus and Mercury on paper, they are a good friendship, like when they are together in a combination. But Mercury gets debilitated where Venus gets exalted, which is in Pisces. It's the same thing as with Jupiter Mars. But Venus gets debilitated in the house of Mercury. Yeah. It's like Mercury, when it is in the house of Venus, is pretty happy. But when Venus goes into the house of Mercury in one of the houses, which is Virgo, it gets debilitated. That's not a very, two-sided friendship. That's a one-sided friendship. Even though if both of them are in Pisces, which is the sign of Jupiter, one of them gets exalted and one of them gets debilitated. And Mercury doesn't even get exalted in any other sign except his own. In general, planets get exalted in some other sign other than their own. They have to go outside of their house to be their best. Every planet does that except Mercury. Mercury is exalted only in his own house. He's like, home game, only home game. So this is like it's an okay friendship. Okay, maybe I'll give this 3, I'll give this 2, maybe I'll give this 1. Venus and Saturn, one of the most legendary friendships in Jyotish, in astrology. Makes sense? Saturn gets exalted in Libra in Venus's house. So when Venus invites Saturn to his house, he's at his best. Venus doesn't get exalted in the houses of Saturn like Capricorn or Aquarius, but he's very happy there, very, very happy. So that's a good friendship. And Venus gets debilitated in Virgo. Saturn is also, so they don't have that complementary thing going on, Saturn gets exalted in Libra, but debilitated in Libra. They don't have that, complementary thing going. So it is a good friendship, but not as strong as Jupiter Mars. Jupiter Mars, great friendship. Now we come to the great enemies. The great enemies. So the great enemies, Sun and Venus, absolute disaster. Like they hate each other with a passion. It's it's a strong bond. Like sometimes I feel like being enemies. You think of your enemies more than you think of your friends, don't you? So Venus is miserable in Leo. Sun is miserable in Libra or in Taurus. Sun and Saturn, the most legendary enmity. Like absolutely hate each other. Like they hate each other so much. It brings out it's a legendary hate. They hate each other so much. It probably gives them energy. Yeah. But the weird thing about this enmity is that generally, like many times when Sun and Venus are together in a chart, in any house, it is a good combination. Yeah, it's a good combination of confidence and charm. But Sun and Saturn, no. Sun and Saturn, whenever they are together in any house, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. Unrequited hate, where one planet hates the other planet, but the other planet doesn't even give a damn. It's like Mars hates Mercury. So whenever Mercury is placed in Aries or in Scorpio, it's not doing good. But Mars is it's okay in Gemini or in Virgo. Jupiter hates Mercury. So when Mercury is placed in Saggy or Pisces, it's pretty miserable. And it also gets, debilitated in Pisces. So this makes sense. This is a good hatred going on, They don't have any kind of debilitation going on like this. Venus hates Moon. Yeah, this is another combination which makes no sense. Venus and Moon together in any house is generally considered a good for again charm, luxuries and all that. But so they are like those two, hot, popular girls or guys who seek where both of them think they are good, but one of them secretly hates the other. So Moon, when it is placed in Taurus or in Libra, not so happy secretly, but Venus is pretty happy in Cancer. Jupiter hates Venus. Nobody hates Jupiter, okay? Nobody has the guts to hate Jupiter, but Jupiter hates Venus. I don't know why. Maybe because Jupiter is the lord of the gods and Venus is the lord of the asuras. Jupiter teaches you all spiritual wisdom and Venus teaches you all, material, how to get, arts and charm and acting and basically how to get material stuff. But this is the kind of enmity that exalts you, because Venus, even though Jupiter hates Venus, so Venus in Sagittarius is not happy, but Venus in Pisces, which is a sign of Jupiter, is exalted. So this is like your enemy coming to your house and he's at his best. It's like it brings out the best. Sometimes when you're with a friend, it brings out your best. But sometimes when you're in the house of your enemy, somebody who hates you, and that gives you energy, and that is Venus in Pisces. Jupiter hates Venus so much that Venus in the house of Jupiter, when it comes to a house party with Jupiter, it exalts. Saturn hates Mars. Saturn hates Moon. Saturn hates Moon and Mars both actually. So Saturn hates Moon. So Moon is not happy in any of the houses of Saturn, like Capricorn or Aquarius. Anytime Saturn and Moon are together in any house also, that is also generally not a good thing. It's depression and all this kind of, it just brings you down. Saturn and Mars. Saturn hates Mars. Here again, Mars gets exalted in the house of Saturn. And Saturn gets debilitated in the house. This is a pretty good, this is a good enmity, because this is there's a lot of chemistry here. Probably if they probably, this is the kind of hatred where, it could turn into something, because Mars gets exalted in the house party of Saturn, but Saturn gets debilitated in the house party of Mars. Yeah, so Mars clearly has the upper hand here, right? Like Saturn just hates Mars. And probably Saturn is because he's a very old, not very cool kind of guy, but Mars is like this cool biker boy. And Mars has the clear upper hand in this relationship. Unrequited love. Mercury loves Sun. So Sun is very happy in Gemini, Sun is very happy in Virgo, but Mercury in Leo is okay. He is not hated, but he is not welcome either. Mars loves Moon. Yeah, this is a toxic love, because Mars loves Moon, but Moon gets debilitated in the house of Mars. Jupiter loves Moon, and this makes sense because Jupiter gets exalted in the house of Moon. And they, both of them together, by the way, both of them together, Mars and Moon, Jupiter and Moon together combination, it's generally considered, I mean, you have to see the house, which house it is in and all that, but you can say it's generally more good than more bad, like, generally it happens to be good. These two combinations, Chandra Mangal Yoga and Gajakesari Yoga. Saturn loves Mercury. So Mercury is very happy in Aquarius and Capricorn, but Saturn is okay, not welcome, not hated, just tolerated in the signs of Mercury, like Gemini and Virgo. The most complicated relationship, Moon and Mercury. Moon loves Mercury, but Mercury absolutely hates Moon. There's a big story behind this, because Moon is actually the father or mother or the parent of Mercury, but it is an illegitimate parent. Mercury is an illegitimate child, and so because it is an illegitimate child, Moon loves Mercury because it was his fault or her fault that Mercury got born. But Mercury hates the life that he has. He doesn't hate the life that he has, but he hates the parent for being irresponsible. So anytime Moon is in Gemini or Virgo, it is not doing good, but anytime Mercury is in Cancer, it's doing great. So these are the planetary relationships. These are, I want to make a sketch out of this someday to explain all these things better. I hope this helped. I hope I added to your